Hi, this is Helen Thomas on the CDFM study group. Today we're going to look at CDFM Module 4, Section 3, which is the resource management. And this accounts for 10% of the Module 4 exam. Resource management. So a lot of the terms and what we're going to talk about you've heard these before. So it shouldn't be too difficult in this part of it. So affordability assessment, and highlighted here, you can read through all the other words, but what I want you to note here is affordability assessments are required at both milestone B and milestone C, conducted by the resource managers in the DoD component. Full funding. Full funding is assessed by the milestone decision authority at each decision point. Again, because you want to know when to request in the upcoming fiscal year budget, when do I request funding for my program? So that's what needs to be considered. So the MDA, Milestone Decision Authority, reviews the actual funding, most recent program budget in comparison to the time phase requirement for that program. You should have already heard the term cost as an independent variable. So that's why you'll end up placing a cost in the life cycle, schedule, performance of that item, because the best time to reduce costs is early on in the acquisition program. That's why you have all those decision points, 7 decision points to determine the process and where you need to go next. So let's see. Cost as an independent variable refers to the life cycle cost, which should be treated as equally important, performance and schedule. So you have schedule costs, performance costs, and actual costs of the program. So they're just as equal. Note here, life cycle cost is the sum of 4 categories: RDT&E, procurement, MILCON, and your operations support, which is your O&M funding. Acquisitions system costs as programs mature from transition to sustainment. Cost estimates that support the acquisition system or program management in many cases may need to be expanded in scope. So that's just not really anything that's difficult. Transition to sustainment. So you need to expand, because you may determine based on what your estimates were, it costs more to get that job done. That's all that's saying there. So what's the role of that analysis of the alternative? We just talked about this in section 2. Analysis of the alternative, the best way to think of that is courses of action. So role of the AOA for acquisition 1 programs or above acquisition programs. These are your DoD level program. An AOA is required at milestones, decision points, and at the full rate of production. Cost assessment and program evaluation, so that's the director of CAPE, is the one that develops and approves the AOA guidance. So remember, we did analysis. You had the material solution analysis. Then you'd had to do analysis of the alternative, which we're talking about here again. And then you do the technology development. So AOA has 8 elements, so make sure you review those. So the program office is required to define the program formed written cost analysis requirements description. So in doing my cost analysis, what are the different criteria I need to look at? Again, this is your PM, again, program manager, who works in a program office. Assessing risk and sensitivity, we've talked about risk, so not going to harbor on that anymore. How the cost estimate will change if one or more assumptions change. Operation and support are the greatest cost for a system during its life cycle. Once you've already developed the item and deployed the item, now you need to keep it running, sustainment, maintenance. So there are various cost estimating methods. There's 4 cost estimating methods that are used. you definitely need to know the differences between them. And if given a scenario, looking for the keyword, like you see analogy, the keyword here is historical data of one similar system. Parametric, the metric alone tells you, okay, it got something to do with statistic. So even if you don't know, you know it's some type of statistical, it's top-down approach. So it's from higher level and dwindle down to the cost. Parametric. Engineering. Your engineers do the job of each particular station. Bottom-up approach. So you got the top-down, which is your parametric, your bottom-up, which is your engineering. Engineering determines cost for every work breakdown structure, your WBSs. So they're real detailed, time-consuming right here with your engineering phase. And then your actual cost. What is the actual cost of producing the prototype? So these are your 4 cost estimating methods. The risk analysis assesses the variability in the overall estimate due to the difference in each input. So based on the data you put in and the different assumptions and criteria, it'll change your risk analysis. So make sure you always go back to verify. All right, we talked about that. Earned value management is probably a big part of this exam because there's a lot of calculations here that you have to know based on the definition. So earned value management is a management tool that is used to relate the work, measure progress. So it's used between the government and the contractor in fulfilling that acquisition process to determine, okay, you said it's going to take you 10 days. It's taking you 15 days. It's costing you more. We have a problem. So earned value management is that management tool where they both continuously assess EVM compliance on contracts greater than 20 million. There's some stipulations here. It allows, here you go, government and contractor program managers to have visibility into technical cost and schedule planning, performance, and progress. The progress, this is the key thing here, the progress on the contracts between. So at any given time, both the government and the contractor is aware of where they are in that process. The earned value management data elements. So you have 5 different things here. And based on knowing the definition of these, you're going to have to do some calculations, some variances also. So budgeted cost of work schedule, which is the value of the work scheduled to be accomplished. So you have a budgeted cost of work schedule versus the budgeted cost of work performed. Actual cost of work performed, budget at completion, estimate at completion. So different budget estimate elements that you need to know. So the variances, or you could say the formulas, if I say calculate the cost variance, well, you have to know that you take the cost variance is equal my budgeted cost of work performed minus actual cost of work performed. That's a positive cost variance, means contractor is under the budget. So this section right here is very important. Once you know the definitions, then the variance, cost variance. So the variance will tell you if I have a positive number from what I budget to what is actual. If it's a positive number, then he's under budgeted, under cost. From what we estimate the cost was going to be, he's under that cost. Likewise, schedule variance. Budgeted cost of work performed minus budgeted cost of work schedule, because we're concerned with the schedule. What you say you're going to be doing versus the time it took you to do it. So positive schedule variance means the contractor is ahead of the schedule. Variance at completion equal budget at completion minus estimate at completion. And estimate at completion is calculated, and this one has a great big formula. Acquisition, actual cost of work performed plus the difference of the budget. So definitely make sure you take your time here with this one. And the cost performance indices. CPI equals cost performance index is the budgeted cost of work performed divided by the actual cost of work performed. Schedule performance index. And now we're looking at the schedule. Budgeted cost of work performed divided by budgeted cost of work schedule. A ratio greater than 1 indicates the work is being completed faster than planned. A ratio less than 1 means completed is slower than planned. So that's what the data tells you. Rebaselining, major alignment of the program baseline. We have to change the baseline. Remember, in the beginning, when you start the acquisition, the program manager does an acquisition program baseline. Replanning, realign the schedule or reallocate budget for remaining efforts. Or reprogramming, realign results in total budget and or total schedule. So affordability is the degree which life cycle cost of an acquisition program in concert with long-range modernization, force structure, and manpower plan. Is it still affordable? That's why they do that decision review. What we're doing, is it still efficient? Is it still affordable? Is it still necessary? In cost estimated to support budget requests for major DoD acquisitions, which of the following cost estimating methods require extensive knowledge of a system and its components and characteristics? Well, that's the engineering. So that should tell you there, because you need extensive knowledge, detail. Which of the following best describes the intent of the cost as an independent variable plan? To treat cost as an equal variable to performance and schedule in program decisions. All right, this completes or concludes section 3 of the CDFM Module 4, and I will see you guys again next time.